are you so young getting this award?
Well, it took me 32 years, champ. All right, now.
Dave should stop.
All right, we will, guys.
I first became aware of Dave Chappelle right around before the first Nutty Professor, because I was supposed to play that role that he played. And then I kind of saw him, and I was like, hey, that guy, right, that kid would be funny playing that role.
I try to be peaceful, but now it's time for Reggie to karate-size your ass. Woo!
Dave is so much smarter than everyone. Like, Dave is one of the most, maybe the most intellectual comedian ever.
It took us 400 years to figure out as a people that white people's weakness the whole time was kneeling during their national anthem. That's a brittle spirit. That's right, nigga. On the rockets, regular. Ah! Ah! What are you doing, nigga? Stand up!
He stretched the art form and his impact on the culture. He is the voice of his generation, without question. Nobody's even close to him.
And I'm envious and jealous of Dave's ability to go and be free as a comic in the times where we desperately need to be.
Yes.
We desperately need to be, and Dave can be. And I bow down to him. I called it, I don't give a fuck about these numbers, anything I got. Dave, in my opinion, you're the GOAT. In my opinion, your last special has allowed you to surpass the Richard Pryor, in my opinion. Dave Chappelle, I got to witness do groundbreaking, controversial movement as a comedian in the times where comedy was being frowned upon. Comedians were being held accountable for doing what we thought we would never be ridiculed for.
Right.
The one person that stood on a pedestal that got the attention that no others can get outside of a myself, a Rock, a Seinfeld. He said, in the time where the fucking fire is the hottest, I'm going to do what nobody else will. You gotta fucking applaud that.
He stood up for comedy.
He stood up for comedy. Whether you want to see that or not,
Right.
he did that.
Yes, he did it when there was the most pressure.
When it was the most fucking pressure, and when the times of, we can cancel you, by the way, which is the stupidest shit that I've ever fucking witnessed in my 40 years of life. Dave Chappelle said, fuck all that. Do what you gonna do, I'm gonna do me. That is epic. That is groundbreaking. That is GOAT-like behavior. So I bow down to Mr. Chappelle.
Every bit that Chappelle did was just like, there was no fat on it. And he got right to the fucking point. With all that's changed, everybody getting offended, all of this fucking crap, how you get in trouble, he hasn't changed at all. He's just like that same guy that I saw way back in the day when I used to go to the Boston Comedy Club and watch him go on at like 2 a.m. and just start murdering at 2 a.m. And I remember I used to always sit there going, how do you do that? Just when I watch his act, I'm like, this guy's clearly been doing this a good couple of decades longer than me. And the reality is, I think he's only been doing it like 6 years longer than I have or something like that. He's fucking amazing.
Because people did that for me, and I didn't forget it. And I remembered what it meant to me. I had one. Dave Chappelle said something to me in the early 2000s. I held on to that.
Yeah.
In comedy condos and hell rooms for like the next 5 years.
Yeah.
Dave said I was funny.
Right.
Dave thinks I'm funny.
Dave thinks.
Dave's a beast. Dave's a beast, man. That's the only man that puts a little fear in my heart. I'm like, okay,
It's real.
what's he doing?
Do you watch him? Do you watch him?
Totally.
You study.
Totally. I got Chappelle. I got an app. I follow him. I'm like, you know, my man Prince Paul always says, competition keeps you in condition.
True.
You know, so yeah, that's my man right there.
Dave Chappelle
has been a wonderful friend and mentor.
What did Chappelle say to you that helped you with that?
Chappelle said to me, we were doing a show at Radio City together. It was during his run.
Right.
And I was on one of the shows, and he said to me, I said, man, what am I going to tell these? Because I was like, I'm going to do comedy before Dave Chappelle. I was like, Dave, what am I even doing here? And Dave said, and I said, I don't even know if I'm funny enough to be here. I said, you're nice, and I think I'm a really funny guy, but what am I doing here? And Dave said, look, man, he said, you don't understand something. He said, you're not here because you're funny. He says, I know 100 funny motherfuckers out there. He said, you're here because you're interesting. And he said, anyone can be funny. Not everybody can be interesting. Not everyone can make an audience listen to what they're saying. Not everyone has a wealth of life experience that makes people want to know what they have in their minds. And so
He's got a very unique process, Chappelle does, and he can turn over an hour like no one I've ever seen before. And I was talking to Donnell Wrongs about it recently, who, was on the Chappelle show with him. And he's like, we both agreed, like, he's the best ever at turning over a new hour. He could have he could release a Netflix special and then have a new hour within a couple of weeks. It doesn't even make sense. I don't understand how he's doing it.
It must just flood in.
He's in a great space, He's in a great mindset to do comedy.